Good.
Well, that was good for the lungs. Whew.
The main thing I would actually love to say about Michael is that he's somebody who sort of has blended his love of people and being engaged with people and his love of cooking and food and community. I just find him to be a real human being, and it remains that. Certainly his orange logo of hair and clothes, and it remained constant. It still is constant. And but he was also really engaged as a student. So to talk about him as a student for 4 years that I knew him, he was always doing things outside of class, or events, or silk screening, or t-shirt making, or whatever it was.
And he hasn't stopped.
But what I would like to do is like find some indigenous culture I identify with.
Yeah.
A culture that, this is like a hypothetical per se. Like I'm thinking about it in reality.
Yeah, why not?
Find some indigenous people. Find some culture I enjoy. Find one that's willing to engage with someone who has the background. Like also like these tattoos are almost like in American society they're not appreciated. Some people are like, that's cool, or like, that's a great idea, that's interesting. Most other people don't do that. To other peoples and cultures, they might be like, look, like, you can't hang with us until you've bled for this reason. Or, like, you have to have passed this rite of passage before this happens. So I'm hoping that my current pursuit in marking my body will gain respect in circles where I don't know here.
Yeah, Grand Central.
Where I don't know their culture firsthand, but we all understand the cultural relationship of mother and father. We all understand the cultural relationship of grandmother and grandfather.
Yeah.
So if they see that I've sacrificed and I've bled and I've put an image on my skin, I'm hoping that there's very little explanation needed. I'm hoping that this is something I can use to trade and get ahead. So I would like to be accepted into another culture. And to do whatever rite of passage is required of that people to receive a tattoo in traditional format. Because for me, it's the cultural practice is important, and the tattoo is a reward. I'm not looking for like body art I can show other people. I'm looking for that experience. Like I don't even see it. If it's a tattoo on my back, I can't even see it. It's more about how I got it and why it's there. I want things to be different, but I realize I can't make someone have something they don't want. And so my objective is to present the things that I think other people can have and bring them personal satisfaction and satisfaction of the collective in a community. And they can either see it and want it or not. But I see these items as my my coat of arms that are on my arms.
Yeah.
And like there's no iconographic object for the Stevenson family. There's no, that's why I started referring to myself as artist Michael Bernard Stevenson Jr. Like people used to honor their name, and now people make up their own names. And my name is my father's name, and so I'm trying to like honor that every time I can. And whenever someone asks me my name, it's like this is who it is. This is who I am. This is why it's important. And so, in the specific context of the tattoos to represent my African descent and my Italian heritage, and the eating and the perceiving and the sharing and the objects, I mean the axe, he was different. It wasn't an experience. I gave him the axe, and he changed things around, but it was important to me that the blade looked like my grandfather's blade. Yeah. So he put wear on the blade that again is like the pancakes.
Unique to you.
Exactly. It's unique to my family heritage. I could have been my whole life like in the kitchen with my grandparents, and I wasn't. I was playing video games, so that's stupid. And I wish, that will be my children will spend time with me in the kitchen, and they will learn these meals, and they will understand where they came from and why they're important, and it will be important in their lives. There's no question. Like everyone's like, oh, I like oatmeal, or I like this, and they like that because it's something their family gave them. And I don't feel like families are giving anything back to the families anymore, up or down. And so I've the whole culture and tattoo scene is a chance for me to be the generator and send cultural vibrations up and down, and to like help heal and rebuild something that has been neglected over time. One of the things I thought about while I was getting tattooed and I was like feeling deep emotions was I happened to tell Elizabeth that story earlier about or maybe it was after, about the tribe of people who cut themselves every time they remember a family member who is lost. And I of every one of my family members, I have received the most pain, physical pain, in specific memoriam to my grandmother. And it's not competition. It's just, you know, I am building my own culture, and I recognize that culturally, pain is often associated with loss, and I'm often very emotionally even keel, and so in the pain of loss, there's less pain and more just loss. And in pain, it's actually just pain. And during this tattoo, I really took a moment to fully embrace the feeling of physical pain and emotional sensitivity, because it wasn't negative. My emotional feelings were not negative. And the pain, I guess I'm saying, was not negative either. So in total, the experience was positive and the product was positive. But it looks like I'm having a terrible time, maybe. What one needs to understand is things that look painful and are painful are not always bad. So anyway, so we were all there, and it was kind of all about me, which is like how things happen a lot, but not. I don't seek it out, even at all, but I certainly enjoy, you know, I don't like to be on stage and have people watching me. Like, the moment we shared was like real. You know, I had a friend of mine do a process where of course I get to take an image away, but also like made me sick and throw up and have diarrhea and feel very unwell. But it was elective, and I'm much more glad to have spent time with someone who cares about me, is invested in the process, understands I care about him. Like, we have a real relationship. Like, we would be friends if he couldn't put images on my skin. And so to have that experience include that person, that was amazing. It was very much like, you know, if you're an indigenous, and I'm realizing this in the moment, and you're in a tribe of like 100 people, 200, 10, 40, you're probably going to know the guy who's going to put ink on you when you're like 8 or less. Like, it's the guy. And you see him around, and he's a part of your life. Maybe he's friends with your father. He's friends with everyone. Like, it's a part of the culture of your existence as a person of whatever cultural celebration you are. You can have that experience where someone very important to you is also with you while you're going through a moment that's hard and that's uncomfortable, and one that is, I mean, the premise behind it, the philosophy, like, that's not a strange thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I can't really cope with having something on my body. Like, that part was not even anything for me. But in all truth, like, it was still a very physically demanding experience.
Yeah, you actually bled for your art.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it.
Exactly. And, you know, the bleeding was let by a friend, and care was taken of me by 2 other friends. And it got to the point where all of these tattoos are about me being a caregiver, where I couldn't do anything. If I was alone, like, I would have been alone, and I would have had to just shut down until my body was able to nurse itself back into enough health to, like, do anything. So the moment started to become about more than just a tattoo, and about more than just celebrating the cultural significance of my family. It became also about how, like, the four of us have developed a new family. Like, the three of us have art from that man, and the three of us wanted to see him. The two of you wanted to be there even though you weren't getting tattooed. I came across state lines to get a tattoo from him. I haven't had a tattoo since I had a tattoo from him. Like, the bond that we share among our friends is significant.